Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Do you do any prayers before teaching?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody have a prayer book, and if you'd like to move up, you're welcome to bring your chairs up, take a chair closer up. So we'll begin on page 3. We'll recite the opening prayers, all in English, please. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All other sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. We take refuge in the Khentrul Lama and lineage Lama. We take refuge in the deities and mandals of the Yidam. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sangha. We take refuge in all the noble Dharmas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the Khentrul Lama and lineage Lama. We take refuge in the deities and mandals of the Yidam. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sangha. We take refuge in all the noble Dharmas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the Khentrul Lama and lineage Lama. We take refuge in the deities and mandals of the Yidam. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sangha. We take refuge in all the noble Dharmas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Going to page 10b, please. 10b. The bottom of the page. Request for teaching. 10b. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two wheels in their combination, according to the disposition and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings.
Jirgan shazun kansame chuji jero sichin nyaji taradala katana sanji liltagamalun rovi tanjin. Zumedo huda gana jabji ban morotsukun joran na tanji kamba la tandi achani dacha. Kanga tukzi nyarzoni ta tamchidar fanvi shiratan bi ichunar tonzada kodam de la shansaralo. Jara sonzab jirbi donam malu darjan, chabarangi donam tartu ankorlo, dami ayude shanya orton ki jarsa shambatan. Saksaman pakwai tomeja. Harji dami ngurtanas tondar tenjon zamo, jachinari ki chonki ba. Chinteranjan khorayan don pakwa la drvala son por ngurje la marandat. Stichinyanji Jerme Tamja Yayan Trebi Okare Janekamba La Yanta Tahon Kuntan Jibdi Anta. Chening rola zodan ni ba kantan panso serzir yanki ba. Rigdana san hui azapshina tarta danya kandi anyanda sur. Mayo sandana dorji nanjur inje alonsamda hui dabje ngwandanjir. The Dilam Jang Serang La Jujo to Jabana La Sorande Kajitambi Dungara Consider Jang Birthena La Me Chosora Orjamanga Dontun La So Bista Lamana La Sorande Toxum Dungar Gender Chijim General Some Honjur Gelaso Simchina Don La Nirta Don Chena Tamba Namji Numta Sardu Sor.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So today our topic is Rime. So Rime means non-sectarian or non-bias attitude, or you can say approach. It is opposite discrimination attitude. So Rime is not tradition, Rime is not lineage. Instead, more attitude or approach. So Rime is a Tibetan word. Richet means like biased way, or only one side you can see, you don't see the whole thing. Rime means you are unbiased attitude, and you can see different all the aspects, not just one aspect. So therefore you are not biased. Always the biased attitude come from you only see one aspect. So that's why Rime is really important. So this originally come from about between traditions, how they think each other. You know, like whatever you studied and practice your tradition, and you, which one is familiar with you, but something is not familiar with you, usually you think inferior, and something familiar with you is you think is superior. So that's kind of human nature. But also another reason people think like this, because when we study Tibetan texts, they always praise, incredibly praise their own tradition, own philosophy, own approach. sometimes probably other cultures or other races, if they locate, they could think Tibetan exaggeration. So that kind of habit they have. So I analyzed this, why like that. So one of the reason, human nature. The other reason is Tibetan traditions come from Nalinda tradition. And Nalinda University have a middle of the so many other religion traditions. So in the history, they really have to debate. And that's why, therefore, they say the best scholars, panditas, they have to stay 4 doors. The best pandita have to stay middle inside. Probably, if the other scholars have to stay at the 4 doors or side. So any other Hindu or any other scholars come try to attack them. I mean, attack means not physically, philosophically. And they have to debate them. Perhaps the middle one, if anybody couldn't do it, maybe the middle one come, or I don't know. Anyway, so they grow in that kind of environment. So that's why I think they have the habit that I can see from the traditional texts, the academic texts. So the other reason they could be like this because you can think 2 reasons. One good reason and one bad reason. The good reason you can think of that you have to inspire the students, practitioners. So that's normal. And good reason. But the other reason, the bad reason, could be like worldly intentions, like you could lose your disciples. The first reason, the first reason is I'm saying the inspire the students, inspire the practitioners. Inspire is very important. Without inspiration, we can't do very well anything. So the other reason could be worldly intentions, like you lose retinues, you lose followers. That kind of attitude could be. So all these reasons, this makes for some people, not everybody, but for some people, make sectarian and biased attitude. So therefore, this Rime we used when we study different traditions, we use for religious reason. We use this for traditional reason. We use this for philosophy reason. We don't use other things. But we could think this for other things. It's not just only traditional reason, philosophy reason. But we can use this for any bias attitude, like racism, or we can use cultural diversity. Culture, you cannot accept other people's culture. or you can anything we could think make discriminate. This we can say, if it's not discriminate mind is Rime, and discriminate mind is Richet. So the meaning in the world is that, okay? So when I say this, then the historically this Rime come from Tibetan traditions between. Therefore, this in the history, which period of the history is more Richet and which period is more Rime, that's also we should look at. So for this reason, I have to introduce you the Tibetan traditions, major traditions. But it seems like you guys not much hear about Jonang tradition. You hear only 4 traditions. So, and 4 traditions in Bombo. So, therefore, I want to introduce you very briefly at the Jonang tradition. First, 2 reasons. One, without Jonang understanding, zero understanding Jonang, we cannot talk about Tibetan Buddhist history. Second is, this is a Drukong center, So this Drukong center is, like the Drukong Kagid have a big connection with Jonang. And so therefore, I have to tell you a little bit about Jonang as well. So first, Jo is kind of like a respectable name, like probably you guys heard the Hasi Jowo. Lhasa, the precious statue called Hasi Jowo. Jowo means like venerable. If it's a male version, we call Jowo, and then if it's a female, we say Jomo. So, so the nuns in Amdo come, we call Jomo. We don't call Ane. Ane is a Wursang language, Wursang terminology. We don't call Ane. Ane means auntie. Yeah, we call Jomo. So means venerable, So this actually is this Jonang tradition is used called name 6 yoga tradition. Okay, when we talk about 8 panes of the Tibetan tradition, the one is called 6 yoga. That term Sakyava you don't call Sakya, you call Lamdi. Lamdi tradition. So Jonangba, you don't call that term Jonang tradition, you call 6 yoga tradition. Why? Because the highest practice of Kalachakra is 6 yogas. These 6 yogas, Jonang tradition emphasize from the 10th century, from the 11th century to until now. That's why I call 6 traditions. But 13th century, Kanpang Tukje Tsondu, one of the Jonang master, he started a permanent resident monastery in Jomonang. So Jomo means that there's a very important mountain deity, very sacred mountain called Jomo Nagman Gyarma. So in this Jomo Jomonangmangyarmo is like a mountain, very beautiful mountain, and then the next is valley. So Nang means inside valley. They start this retreat. You can say retreat center or monastery, very remote. They start this. They call Jonang. Same as Sakya start from Sa means earth, like Kya means great earth. They start from first monastery, that's why I call Sakya. So Jonang start in the Jomonang, that's why I call Jonang. So similarly, Gelugpa call Gedden is also the place name. So Kagyu is not place name, but Gelug and Sakya Jonang all named by place name. So start from there and then focus on the Kalachakra practice. And in this tradition, even more focus, more meditative approach rather than intellect approach. So this one tradition called Ndro tradition, Kalachakra lineage, they call Ndro lineage. So should not tell too much details. I just introduce you to Jonang like that. And then the first residential Lama Kanhwa Tugje Tsondu, second is Shansam Gyarwa Yeshi, and third one called Kinkin Tolpopa, Sherab Johnson. So I would like to introduce you this Lama a little bit. Two reasons. Why? Because Kinkin Tolpopa is become the most important figure in Jonang tradition. But not only that, the other reason is Tolpopa Sherab Johnson is believed that reincarnation of Ndrikong Kyopan Jiktin Samgon. So that is everybody well known. Tolpopa Sherab Johnson also emanation of the Karki kin from Shambhala. So that is a little bit different. Some people say Sujandra, some people say Pentraraka, but whatever is a well-known emanation of the Shambhala Dharma kin. But Drikong Choba Njiktin Gombo also well-known that Tolpopa. So probably you can say the most incredible figures, if you say in Tibetan, probably you can say Drikong Chopa Njiktin Gombo and Tolpopa Sherab Johnson. So I don't have to tell you too much details about the Drikong Chopa. You guys know his activities flourished much more than Tolpopa. But Tolpopa is a few points, very strong points. He's a philosophical debate. He's a really winner from everybody. If I give example, all the Tibetans traditions, when they make commentary for the Abhisarma Alankara, the one of the Bodhisattva Bhattacharya's text, everybody follows Haribhadra, Indian master Haribhadra, because Haribhadra is the very concise commentary. So everybody follow that. Only Tolpopa challenges the Haribhadra, Indian masters. So, and of course, Tolpopa is like a more pioneerist, in philosophical view. he really, that's why he become incredible, important figure in Tibet, in Jonang tradition. In general, there's a lot of the Jonang the practitioners, incredible Kalachakra practitioners, incredible high realized masters. But in the social appears, the Torpopa more, because Torpopa is like pioneerist, and he challenges Indian masters instead follow, and he challenged very strongly, like look like all the Buddha's sutra, tantra, everything seems like in his head and heart. Seems like he doesn't have to look at him in a text, everything he knows. That kind of, you know. So, therefore, that's the one reason Torpopa is incomparable. Another reason, if you say, Torpopa is the most clearly prophesied from the Buddha. So every tradition, they figures the most important ones, they say, oh, we have prophesied from Buddha, and such people said, but not very clear. You just have to interpret it. Some few letters or few names and few, that kind of. But Torpopa has a very, very clear that from where he's born and where what is his parents' name, where his birthplace, and what his name, everything, what he do, everything. Not just one sutra, but a few sutra other tantras say very, very clearly. So this is not Jonang saying something. This is like everybody, all the scholars know, and they agree. Torpopa is the only person really, really clearly Buddha prophesies. So even we can watch video, you know, like Khentrul Lodro Rinpoche. Probably you heard in Khentrul Lodro Rinpoche. Khentrul Lodro come here, right? Khentrul Lodro's a teacher. He's the most popular in Tibet in modern time. So even he said, we can see it online, he said, only Torpopa is Buddha really, really prophesies. But it's not just prophesies, oh, he's a good guy. But he prophesies that Torpopa is, he's saying his Dharma victory. You know, he said, Chuji Tarshir Tombadnger. So he victory conch he blow, and he victory banner he hold up. Like that. So exactly what he said, the Torpopa's philosophical view, the Janton view, is nobody can debate. The very, very scholar, popular, and even especially for Kalachakra, Burton, probably you heard. Burton Rinpoche and Torpopa is the same time. And first they tried to debate a little bit, send in letters. And finally, Torpopa said, we have to face to debate. And so Torpopa, he went to Burton, and then Burton, he could not face him. So Burton said, tell the attendants, I'm not here. And then Torpopa, he debated like this, and he did this, and they said even cracked his house. Yeah, Torpopa is incredible, really. But the Dharma activities not as flourished as Chupanjitya Samgun, you know. Torpopa, he in 13th century, late 13th century he born, and then 14th century. During his time, nobody can debate him. So everybody call him Khenchen. Khenchen means omniscient. So the other Tibetan traditions, people call Khenchen, But their party, they call this, and like that. And so, but Tolpopa is different. Other people call him, omniscient. He knows everything. Because he went everywhere debate, and so everybody call him like that. So for you guys, something in ephemeral, you say, how do you know that? We can see in the text, So we see slowly, and his point is really strong, and he has mountain doctrine, translated by Jeffrey Hopkins, and he has Buddha from Torpo, a book called Buddha from Torpo, translated by Sarveston. I can't say pronounce very well. So this year I wrote Gentong. So what I try to write is try to understand the Tolpopa's point of view. And then centuries, the people debate Rangtong and Gentong, the self-empty and empty of other. So because everybody don't know, there's no such thing as which is right. So I have tried to make very clear. So this is translated, already translated. So in the future you can see.
What title is that, please?
The title is Celestial Dam of the Victory. He not created, but he make accessible and make very clear, and challenges all others. Yes, he's not the first. He's go back to the Buddha, but basically is like this. Except Gelugpa, everybody believes that. The third Dharmaveda is a definitive teaching. But some people not 100%. So Tolpopa, he make, extra points. Yes, in general, that's in Drukung Kargyada, and like the other Kargyupas, and the mostly, not all Sakyapas, but some Shakcham Chokdan, and most Nyangma Pas figures, they all agree with Gentong. But not necessarily 100% Gentong. But Tolpopa is 100% Gentong. So personally, his view is the strongest, as far as I see. So that's why I try to communicate as much as possible to make clear. Anyway, we're not going to talk about too much this one, because our topic is Rime. But also this is important to understand this, because when we say Rime, people always have struggling to be Rime, Everybody agree to, Rime is a good idea. I mean, like even they not agree inside, but they have to agree outside. Otherwise, you have to say, discrimination is good, biased mind is good, unbiased no good, non-discrimination no good. You can't say that. It's politically not correct. So that's why everybody agree outside, but inside they have struggling to be Rime. So my whole point is everybody can make Rime. It's not that difficult. Why people find it difficult? Because the idea of Rime, I think, wrong. They're going too far, which means people think Rime means, okay, I'm Gelugpa, so let's say I'm Gelugpa, so Nyangma, and I have to see if I do Rime, then I have to see Nyingma and Gelug as no differences at all. And, they have to be equal value, and I have no preference. It's equally really good. There cannot be any superior, inferior, not possible. People think that Rime means that. Rime means the pointers have to agree. The approaches have to agree. That kind of attitude, if you take, then it's very difficult to be Rime. That's not possible. So that's the reason I think people difficult to be Rime. So, in my point of view, it's not that. You don't have to go that far. But I'm going to talk this a little bit later. First, we say how Tibetan history Rime comes. Let's say from the 10th, from the 8th century, Tibetan brought Buddhism. And that time is not very Rime because the regional born, they more suppressed and Buddhism become more popular. And then later on 10th century, they have a big problem about between Bon and Pali and Buddhism. So that time is not very Rime. And after that, from the 11th century, they rerazed again the Buddhism. That time is more Rime. From the 11th to 15th century, I would say, definitely with 14th century, until then is Rime. Everybody Rime. Because if you look at Je Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa, he studied from Jonang, all the masters. He studied from Sarkya, everywhere. But it's not only Tsongkhapa. I'm talking about Tsongkhapa because Tsongkhapa is very famous. So, but everybody like that. All the Jonang, they study from Sarkya, Sarkya study from Nyingma, everything like that. So that time is very Rime. And then after like 16th century, 17th century onward, become not Rime, sectarian, become sectarian. Not everybody, not individuals, but there is some sectarian comes, and they have destructive history, periods. So it's quite bad. We not go to details. So then after, and during that time, who start Rime seat, like seat, is actually Jonang Ganga Torchok. One of Jonang master, correct, Jonang Ganga Torchok. He's a very great practitioner. He went everywhere and he received the teachings from all the traditions, and he put together called Torchok Tigya. Tigya means more than 108, I think, practices put all the traditions put together, and all the empowerment, transmission, everything all put together. He received all of them and he put together. So that is considered is like Rime seat. So, he thought I received that from His Holiness Dalai Lama in 2004. So that kind of teaching, and then later on 17th century, Taranatha. Have you heard of Taranatha? Taranatha is the treasure of the Tantras. So no, he expand that. He also Jonangpa. So he expand that, and so nowadays everybody use this for empowerment and everything. He used this. He put so many empowerments. For instance, Shangpa Kagyu. Shangpa Kagyu's teachings or Ganga Torchok. Ganga Toncho and Taranatha preserved. Without Taranatha and Ganga Toncho, Shangpa Kagyu is disappear. So all the Shangpa Kagyu's teachings, even today, Chonangpa monasteries hold them. So anybody Shangpa's teachings wanted, they can go to Chonang monasteries and receive. Chonang Lamas stay there, Chonangpa still practicing in Tibet. So like that. And then more people knowing Rime movement, more popular becomes in the 20th century. So that's Jamgon Kongtrul and Jiang Chensi Rinpoche. They did many great activities. Because why they did this? Because firstly, they are great masters and they have incredible knowledge. Of course, they can comprehend all the traditions. Secondly, the history very bad been not Rime, sectarian. So they want have a movement, Rime movements. So they start from there and then we become Rime. Become Rime for a while and then become better. But then the Tibetan have this communist invasion problem. So and later, then of course, many years there's, but of course these these problems come, people more together. As we know, America, like when you have 9/11, everybody work together. When you have terrible things happened, you work together. So the communists destruct the religion and all lamas put in the jail. So then all traditions lamas together in jail. So they teach each other, receive teaching each other, and they work together again. So those things happened, and so then after from 1980s, then Tibetan tradition allowed again, and then practices at that time again, like everybody have kind of Rime attitude. But nowadays, I become more non-Rime, sectarian, more sectarian. Everybody is saying in the mouth, they say, oh, Rime is important. But in the practical level, so many people non-sectarian. We can see that. I have personally experienced a lot. And not only this, but Tibetan sectarian, not only that, but even teach you guys, like other non-Tibetans, teaching non-Tibetans and have sectarian, and many, probably you guys experience something, like the Dharma centers not work together, they not share each other, some Dharma centers, they only want their own tradition, they don't want, they not accept others, that kind of. So therefore, in my case, I'm not like great masters, these Rime masters, incredible knowledge and wisdom. I'm not like that. But fortunately, when I entered in monasteries, I was very enthusiastic to practice study. But the monastery have no full-time study and practice. So then they have only a few months or like that, 1 month, 2 months, like that kind of. So then I went to many Nyingma monasteries, different their Ngondo practices, Longchen Nyangtik Ngondo, Longster Ngondo, Namchu Ngondo. These 3 Ngondos I did practice, but they don't have even guidances. Only 1 month like that, and then after that I did myself. But that's not enough. Then I went look everywhere, and Gelugpas have some teachings, like philosophical teaching. Then I went to Gelugpas, So, for instance, Samargo, Gelugpa, Winter in Myanmar, I move everywhere. So I went a lot in Myanmar and Gelug, and the Sakya and Kagyu, I went a little bit. There's not a lot of monasteries, I find it. But individual lamas, I find them. So they teach me, and I did the practices. Like this many years, like over 10 years. Yes, in Tibet. Yes, that time is all the monasteries not fully established. And not the teaching programs not fully established. But still, usually I know my relatives and the many annoying people, these monks, they go one monastery and stay there. When they have no teaching or program, nothing, they just go everywhere puja or otherwise stay with the family. But I didn't do that. I just never go home, never go pujas, I always try to seek in the teachings and practice and try to do this. So therefore, I went all the traditions and experience. So that's why naturally developed non-bias. So that's why I can say this, because with my experience, if you involved everybody, you just become the non-bias. Because when I go, for instance, if I'm Myanmar, and they have wrong ideas of Gelugpa, and they criticize this, then I always say, no, not like that. And I have to argue behalf of Gelug. The same thing, if I'm Gelug monasteries, the Nyangmapas have these ideas, Gelugpas have Nyangmapas funny ideas. So I always try to correct them, try to argue them, So even I have to take more their side, because it's just, you have to argue them, like you have to try to let them understand, correct them, you have to really strong. So I try to do this, and then becomes naturally like that. But when I went pilgrimage in India, that time I realized in India, it's not like that. Again. So then I wrote a small book. And even Jonang, they didn't even know. Jonang, even they didn't know. So then I wrote a small book called All the Tibetan Traditions Together, include Bombo. Because Bombo even more distant than the others. In where I grow up is really, Bombo they think is really bad. But then I discovered, I try to meet Bombo monks and try to talk to them, and like that way I discovered, oh no, regardless of what the history, the person born, their teachings is just exactly same as the other Buddhist teachings. So that's why I wrote a small book, and then I show His Holiness, and then His Holiness very pleased, and he said, "This is really good, but so small. Can you extend this in the future?" So then I promised, but it took me 12 years to complete this book. This one. Why take me 12 years, Because I have to learn the English first. Because I want to extend the whole world religion, Rime, non-sectarian. Not only just Tibetan, non-sectarian. That's I decide. Because then I have to learn English, and then I have to research, and many people help me research. And then I interview many professors, different religion, everything. So it's really hard to grasp the essence. Even like when Christianity, have hundreds of branches inside. As the other religion, every religion has so many, but the good thing is to realize so many things. And you develop, genuine respect, everybody. Because I told you, Tibetan texts, they have debate other, debate in a very aggressive way, debate the others. So that's why when I come to India, I have a Rime view, Tibetan traditions, but I didn't have Rime view or other non-Buddhist. I have feeling kind of like, really bad views of the other religions. Then I slowly realized that, none of them is very bad. So therefore, I try to write this and take 12 years. So in here, all the Tibetan traditions, the half, and the more than half book is all summarized all major religions, but also small, the Catholics, ancient religions, everything in there. So people say they are really because if you read one book, then you grasp all traditions. So people really like this. So then not only that, but also I wrote how to be Rime. What kind of approach we take. And we should know like this. Okay, we have to know, if we know Rime, not only just for religion or your philosophy, but anything, if you are not Rime, not non-sectarian, what is the problem? Of course, society not humanist. That's obvious. Any discrimination make not society humanist. But not only this, all the wisdoms in the world, it come from holy, we can say, bodhisattvas. Come from emanation of bodhisattvas. So if you think they're bad, without knowing, you don't have respect, you really losing opportunities. And also, you creating kind of bad karma, Or not only that, but also, you guys probably know the most very strongest heavy karma is you abandoning dharma. So if there is a real dharma, let's say if I'm Gelugpa, if I abandon Nyamaba approach, or if I'm Nyamaba, if I abandon Gelugpa teaching, I think is very, view is very, bad. And then, you really abandon dharma. Because all come from Buddha. It's the all essence of the Buddha teachings. So that's why it's really bad karma. Not only that, but also your spiritual progress. So the great practitioners always say we have to be Rime. Chulap shori manyan. So which means the Dharma always have to take unbiased. Shori manyan. So when you say that, if not, then your spiritual progress is very slow. This is very clear. Okay, then, what we should do then is, first I think we have to understand that the religious people's conduct is not perfect. There is so many bad conduct and bad attitude and limited wisdom for religious people. So we often judge by this, and we judge the religion, judge the philosophy, judge the tradition. So that is our mistake. We have to separate completely the religious and religion, or you can say the philosophical doctrine, and the people who talk in the doctrine has limitation. People who follow in this doctrine has a limitation. So we cannot judge, but usually people judge this. This is we have to avoid. Then what we have to understand is, we have to understand that different traditions, let's say if you are Kajut, I'm Drakon Kajut, okay, let's say Nyangma practice, okay. You have to understand Jonang or Nyangma, Gelug, any Sarkya, any of these, you have to see is same, in general, same value. You have to see as in general, same value. But then people confuse it, as I before said. If it's in general, if they are a same value, then they have to be agree everything, and then they have, have to be same point they're making. No, that is the problem. You don't have to think equal for me. You only have to think is equal in general, but not equal for me. Whichever is really you like, whichever you suitable for you, whichever you comfortable with, that's when you choose, and that's when you focus. But at the same time, you don't have to think the others less. It is not right. I'll give you an example. For instance, think of food, think of cloth, think of medicine. You have to think of all cloth. Different cloth have same value. Different food have same value. Especially think about medicine. All the medicine have same value, but at the same time, your medication is more, it's not same value for you. Other person's medication and your medication is not same value for you personally. Because the other people's medication is not suitable your body. Sometimes yes, but mostly not. Only your medication is really suitable for you. But that not make the other medications, less value in general. In general, all of them have the values. You can say equal value in general. No matter how many, for let's say if big number of people is, one is valuable, and only small number of people, the other one valuable, you cannot say not equal value. The value you cannot make because have how many people. It's just same value, but not for you. If we take that understanding, then it's not difficult to be Rime. Why they all in general same value? Because all essence is same. If you understand all of them, study really thoroughly, you can see, let's say 95% is same. Maybe the 5% is very big different views, huge different views. But even this huge is more likely communication level, not experiential level. For instance, if I say, I wrote the Gentong book, right? Gentong and Rantong Majamika, self-empty and empty of other. quite clear and big differences to me. I much more prefer gentle view. But at the same time, mainly communication level. Not, if you practice, no problem. Why? Because practice means you make you progress. When you make progress, you will see where you made mistakes. So that's why it's not the experiential level, but the communication level, big difference. They ultimately have no big difference, So that's when we understand this, then is so easy for me, it's so easy to Rime. Why? Because firstly, I studied all of them, Tibetan tradition. Not mastery, I don't know every details of all traditions, but I know the essence. So therefore, for me, is really value. All of them is equal value in general. But at the same time, like Zhentong practice and Kalachakra Tantra, for me is, for me personally, not equal the others. So that is not contradict and not make conflicts whatsoever. So therefore, I think this, if we can understand this approach, then it's not difficult to be Rimepa, to be non-sectarian, to be non-biased and not discriminate. So if we are not discriminated, don't have a biased attitude, is helpful, really helpful to create peace and harmony in society, communities, even any kind of this attitude, non-bias, understanding other people's limitation. Not only just values, but also you understand the other people's limitation. For instance, if I stay in Gelugpa and I'm talking to Gelugpa's monks, they think, oh, the Nyamapas is terrible. They have no pure monks. All monks have wife, children, they're terrible. But they think like that, but I know it is not true. I mean, I'm talking about a long time ago, 30 years ago. Maybe nowadays people know a little bit more. But 30 years ago, they don't really know each other at all. So I know there's incredible pure monks in Nyama tradition, Yes, some of them like that, but that's one way you can think is very bad, but one way you can think is they are quite good because they're very humble. They don't have pride, oh, I'm pure monk, that kind of no pride, And yeah, it's similarly some Nyamapa's point of view, or Gelugpa's, they have no realization, they only have, like intellect talk. They only stuck in intellect in their entire life, no realization, that kind of, judgment. So that's also not entirely true, Of course, Gelugpa was really in practical level because Tsongkhapa, he really emphasized, the conduct and everything. So it's very pure and nice. So that kind of, you understand this, but you can understand these values, but also when you understand the limitations, not everybody have only strength, they have weakness as well. So when you understand the weakness and strength both, then you feel very comfortable. Think about your children. You know what limitations your children have. Small child. But that doesn't, parents never think my child is bad because of this limitation. It's similar when you looking closely and you know, like and realistically, even you see the limitations and weakness, you don't hate them and you don't disvalue them. You know, it is nature. Everything have limitations, except Buddha. So this understanding is really important, you know. But we forget these such important points often. And we always look one aspect, their weakness or, you know, some limitations, and then we have a critical mind, and we just criticize that, and we disvalue it. So that's the problem. So everybody like peace and harmony, I'm sure, which means a really healthy body and a healthy mind. Who don't like a healthy body and a healthy mind? Everybody in this earth like that, have desire for this. But we don't get that often because our limitation. We judge the wrong way, we don't see the values, and then we mistakes, everything. So that's why this discrimination and bias attitude is really, really important eliminate or even reduce. You have to slowly reduce, gradually, and finally you have to eliminate, you know. So for instance, let's say, we say, oh, I'm culture shock, homesick. Culture shock, homesick, where I come from? Because we just stuck one habit. I mean, you cannot adapt a new habit. That's also kind of discrimination, you know. And we don't like other races because we have racial discrimination. And same as philosophy, religion, you know, all we create so many problems ourselves. But if we see clearly those is unnecessary and non-practical. Instead, we understand everything has a limitation, everybody has a limitation, but also they have strength. And also, if we understand, of course, all sentient beings like mother, like that kind of Buddhist approaches, that helps us a lot. Everything. So if you would like to have a peace in your mind, and if you like to peace in your family, and if you have a peace in neighbors, and then community and country, global level, we have to generate that unbiased mind, non-discrimination mind, you know. But if when we say this, then we go too far. Oh, 100% discriminate, 100% non-bias. You know, like let's say ice cream, and the most you like food, and then the most you dislike food, have to be equal. We're not saying that. We're just saying, you know, like. Yes, you can, what do you like most? You can eat that one, but the most you don't like one also have value. It's just some reason you don't like the taste. But if you practice, maybe you will like, you know. So that means one day you have only that food you can eat easily, you know. So that kind of, you know, like a practice we have to do. But I want to tell you a little bit about Shambhala. Why I want to a little bit of Shambhala? Because this Rime or non-sectarian view not only for the religion, but everything, racial, culture, everything. If you have some tolerance, some patience, some enthusiastic discover and, inquisitive mind and curiosity and exposure, if that kind of approach, if you take, this helps peace and harmony, your healthy body, healthy mind, and the healthy community, everything. Healthy spiritual practice, the most important. So many people, not so many people nowadays, much progress, spiritual progress. I think one of the reasons is not very healthy spiritual practice. That's the problem. Not so much inspiration there. That's the problem. So the one of the important is, I think, is we don't know about Shambhala. That's the problem. We all like peace and harmony. That's we like. We really like to have a peaceful world. Yeah, every day you open the television, nobody fighting. Nowadays we look at everybody fighting all the time. Everybody killing all the time, and natural destructions, everything. You like everywhere, no depressions, everybody, so many people don't have to rely on medications, depression medication and all. We would like that, but not happening. Why? So our education is wrong, basically. Our education, the focus absolutely wrong. But then, if we have to change our education, we need a role model. What is the role model? Is Shambhala. When I say Shambhala, do you know what it means? Shambhala is a pure land described in Kalachakra Tantra. But not many people don't understand. Actually, nobody understands, can say, very, very real. And many great practitioners may be understood, but they didn't describe. They didn't express very clearly. So therefore, I wrote this Shambhala book called Demystify Shambhala. Because people have so much wrong conceptions and wrong explanations and very limited. Some is not completely wrong, but it's limited explanations. So probably you guys maybe heard like Chujam Trongpa, the most influential Tibetan Lama in the West. Okay? I mean no more Lama. Not like Karmapa and Dalai Lama, of course, exception, but he talked about Shambhala a little bit, very little. And he created Shambhala centers all over the world, but it's not very clear. Didn't explain. His explanation is not wrong, he explained some principles. But he didn't explain the history and anything. So, and not only that, many of others, very wrong ideas. So all of them I acknowledged in here. And so then I try to explain everything very clear. So really people appreciate so far. But what I'm saying is Why so important we have to know Shambhala? Simple way, you have to understand two things. One, do we like to have peaceful harmony society? Would we like, peaceful world? I'm sure everybody say yes. Why not happen yet? We not connecting with Shambhala, and we not connecting with Kala Chakra Tantra. That's my understanding. So you may say, oh really? How do you know? Because I know this through my practice, but that's not good enough. Everybody can understand or believe. But Kala Chakra Tantra already said it. The future golden age is relying on Shambhala. So, again, people don't understand. And some people interpret it wrong way. So all of them explained here. That's the one reason. Okay? The other reason, everybody have to die. The tomorrow and your death, which one first, you never know. Today I went, this seeing Vietnamese lady, we expecting she dies soon. But we never thinking we die before her. But the reality is, we never know. We're not thinking, oh, poor lady, she's dying. We're not thinking, oh, what about me? We're not thinking this. Because we think, oh, we are not sick, I'm still young, how can I be sick, die? But every day you risking death. Do you know that? Every day you drive a car. How many cars on the road? Just one accident, you just dead. Now every day, how many food we eat? One food falls and you could die. You may say, oh, no, I can go hospital, ambulance, I can call ambulance, but ambulance could be accident. Or anything happened, But the best thing, of course, before we die, we practice Dharma so well, and we know exactly what we're doing, and we are progressing enlightenment, We know which Burmese level we are now, everything, which Pure Land we gone now. But not many people knowing this, because everybody's stuck in the samsaric, silly survival. Everybody's stuck for survive. If you survive very well, then you stuck with unnecessary luxury. If you have both of this survival and luxury both, then you stuck with service of the ego. You stuck on slave for the ego. Because ego say, oh, not enough recognition, not enough social state, not enough name and fame, not enough pleasure, not enough praise, So we skin for this. And we forgot our Buddha nature. And we forgot we need free ourselves. We liberate ourselves. We forgot that. When we forgot this, I think this Shambhala, Pure Land, is the most important. Why? Because many people think, oh, Amitabha Pure Land is the easiest, we reborn, and some people try to focus this. It is a good thing you can something focus. It is really good thing you have some kind of faith. But if you really want to be 21st century educated Buddhist, is very hard to fit that approach in the entirety of the Buddhism doctrine, the Buddhist logic, from the Buddha's doctrine, not fit somebody, ordinary person, not free from karma, reborn Buddha land. Kind of unrealistic and illogical. Therefore, you see, the high monks, and they don't do this. They practice something Vajrayana, some that kind of generation process, compilation. They practice this. If it's like only just prayer, that's enough. Then why everybody not doing? So that kind of. So Shambhala is different. Shambhala Pure Land is different. Why? You must think why. Because firstly, Shambhala Pure Land is Bodhisattva Pure Land. It is not Buddha Pure Land. Okay? Bodhisattva. Huh? Bodhisattva Pure Land. Pure Land of Bodhisattva, which means Bodhisattvas, oceans of merit and aspiration to create for sentient beings for liberty. Therefore, it's not like difficult like Buddha Pure Land to be a born ordinary person, never free from karma, just suddenly in Buddha Pure Land. A little bit unrealistic, So that's why is Shambhala different. Secondly, as long as in the Bodhisattva Pure Land, and not, like Bodhisattvas and Buddhas have aspirations and creations for all sentient beings, but also they have other creations and aspirations for specific sentient beings. So individual sentient beings. So, individual worlds, the world is innumerable, right? But for one world, not only just all the world, all the universe, but one world. So Shambhala is a dedication, creation for our world, this world, and the sentient beings on this earth. Therefore, we have this particularly specific connection, Therefore, Shambhala is really opportunity we got to practice, But people didn't realize that. I didn't said enough experts in the society. That's why I wrote the book. Therefore, I'm enthusiastic about this. And also, about Shambhala information and many things, people had take very literally, and they understand is people explain is very limited ways. So I try to break down and try to explain well, to fit in the Buddha's teachings, not just, this is I know, only I know, but it's fit in the Buddha's doctrines, the law, and the rules and regulations. So, not only that reason, but Shambhala we call Sapshut Dijankam. Sapshut means earthly pure land. When we say earthly pure land, then again people are very confused. And then everybody try to find the Shambhala on this earth somewhere, some kind of village, some kind of town, some kind of, we have a movie about, Shangri-La. These all make misconceptions, But Safshut Janka means is, when we say earthly realm, it's not like the gross level of earth we can touch and we can see, if microscopes we can see, it's not that. We have to understand that if you understand the whole Buddhist doctrine, then you understand, because, think about, we have 3 realms, right? And even the samsara, 3 realms. So desire realm. So Shambhala is desire pure realm. So that means it's a very close relationship with us. Therefore, Shambhala is Kalachakra Tantra realm. So therefore, if you practice Kalachakra properly, even you didn't have a huge progress, but if you just practice with sincerity, and then you are connected with Shambhala. That is, the Kalachakra purpose. But people don't understand this clearly. I don't know why. So, even in the history said it in Kalachakra Tantra, even Shambhala, first is not Kalachakra there. Kalachakra is brought from Buddha to Shambhala. And to establish Kalachakra, like about 1,000 years took to Shambhala. But finally what happened? All Shambhala is become one practitioner, which means everybody practicing Kalachakra Tantra. Shambhala is not a town. Shambhala is a huge realm. 960 million cities. 960 million cities. Shambhala is that big. Compare this earth is tiny. So people try to find on this earth, there is a lot of misunderstanding, misconceptions. Why? Because they sigla marton ton larton. Buddha's four reliance say, don't stuck with words, look at the meaning. But everybody looking for Shambhala on this earth in gross level and scientifically you can find. Because it's stuck with words. So, therefore, if we understand Shambhala, even we practice a little bit Kalachakra here, everybody practice Kalachakra. Nobody practices in Kalachakra, almost, very real people. Because there's nobody provided. So everybody thinks it's too complicated. But if everybody practices Kalachakra, you connect automatically in Shambhala. You connect automatically Shambhala, then is completely peace and harmony you connect in. Why? Shambhala have no races anymore. Everybody one race, initiated in one race. But this also some people misinterpret it. Oh, Tibetan Buddhism is very bad because Shambhala converts the all religion, one religion. So very bad. Okay? But this is a really big misunderstanding. What Shambhala initiation say? All is Buddha race, Buddha nature. Everybody's ultimate race is Buddha nature. You know, we say, oh, I'm Chinese, I'm Vietnamese, I'm Tibetan. This is a very temporary race, temporary family. And the Shambhala is the whole realm, one family. If everybody, one family, one race, Buddha nature, understand 100%, that is the ultimate Rime. That's why for me, we talk about the Rime is steps toward the Shambhala. Steps toward the Shambhala. You know? And then, if we can make a few steps in the Rime and non-sectarian way, that means we walking toward the Shambhala. You know, this is ultimate peace and ultimate harmonious, ultimate Rime. This is Shambhala. Therefore, they said, in the future, Shambhala Karkikins magic performance coming in how do you call it? Release our world. Release? Liberate, yes, liberate our world as a golden age. Golden age. Yes, become golden age. Because that is the really world of, genuine world peace is that. Normally politicians and hippies are talking about, you know, empty world of, I mean, hippies a little bit better than politicians, of course, but yeah, you know, they're talking about the world peace is okay, but the real genuine peace is Shambhala liberation, you know. So usually we predict in a few hundred years come. But in my point of view, we don't have to wait for a few hundred years. How much we want to fast a golden age is up to us. You know, how much we can understand this non-sectarian and peace and harmony, the values. And these values, they come from loving kindness and compassion. But, oh, okay, loving kindness, compassion, I always hear. People think, but nobody practice, maybe. But I think everybody practice little bit. But the problem there is little bit didn't understood properly. So we talk about this very little, 5 minutes. Let's say, usually we think love is, you know, like, oh, I love this person, I love this object. We think this is love. We can say this is love. We can say this is love. But I call contaminate love.
Contaminated.
Yes.
Contaminated.
Yes, I call incontaminate love. Why? Because it is love. You know, there is love aspect there. But what is contaminate is this self-cherishing and this possessiveness. Contaminate. We say, oh, I love this, I want it, basically. This is for me, it's mine. You know, either person or object, anything. We say, no, this is me, mine. That's the problem. When it's contaminate, and then you have problem later on. Gross, you know, when it's contaminate, you know, like if you eat very nice, delicious food contaminated with some bad bacteria, You eat it, then slowly you sick, or slowly you develop some complications in your system. Similarly, when we have this contaminated love, oh, that feels nice, or feels nice, beloved, feels not, I love somebody or some object. It temporarily feels good, but then taking complications. So, therefore, is love always, if you really, what we have to do is we have to purify these contaminations slowly, always be mindful, and like we have to purify this contamination. And then gradually our love is like not dependent on the object and not dependent on the external object. Instead, without external condition, you always love, which means is radiate from you, not you need something radiate. You radiate from everybody, the warmth and the lights. Like sun. Sun, you don't need any other condition to make the lights and warmth. And then becomes real love. Then whoever you meet, wherever you go, whatever object, all fine. So this is like, I see this is like a real essence of practice Kalachakra. Because there's many reasons. And then the compassion. I think we also have misunderstanding compassion. Because usually we say, oh, too much compassion, too many destructions in the world, too many homeless people, and too many fightings everywhere. Especially these natural destructions come, many people die. Some people really heartbroken, kind of like, We think this is compassion, I call this starting compassion. Starting point.
Starting point.
Yeah, starting point compassion is not real compassion. Why start compassion? Because, it's much better than insensitive people. You are sensitive, so then as you open the door to enter in the compassion. But it's not a real compassion. Why? Because make you suffer. Make you great suffer, and sometimes people can't cope with. It is okay, a little bit suffering, and make you do something, make you motivate something. That's okay, no problem. But if, as long as it make you weak and you damage it yourself, that if you go that far, that means it's the problem is not real compassion. That's the problem. Which means still there is some kind of seed of compassion there. But it's emotional. I call it emotional compassion. So the emotional compassion is not the real compassion. It's some kind of, you can say contaminated compassion. Again, you can say. It is seed there. So the real compassion is have to be attitude, not the emotion. What kind of attitude? Like you really cares other people's well-being. If you are want bodhicitta compassion, then you really cares all sentient beings' well-being. You really cares means is courageous nature. That's why we call bodhisattva. In Tibetan we call Pa. Pa means warrior, compassionate warrior. Which means for you doesn't matter some person suffering temporarily or not suffering temporarily, you have the equal compassion. Which means you equally cares. You know, somebody successful and somebody failure, you had the equal compassion. You equally care. Why? Because you know they both a failure in the end. One is today successful, failure, the other failure. Tomorrow the other one successful. You know, I mean tomorrow I'm talking about future and present and future. So nobody is successful as long as you are not liberated from samsara. So that's why it's temporary, no matter how you're successful, so-called successful. So that's why real compassion has equally you cares. If we understand this philosophy and then we can connect it with, you know, this Rime approach, and then Shambhala as a role model. So imagine all the Shambhala people has like this equal, genuine love and compassion, not contaminated love and compassion. So therefore, their spiritual path is nature. Like we don't need to make effort to eat your favorite food. Your favorite game, your favorite show. These things, we don't need effort. We enjoy naturally flow. In Shambhala, your spiritual practice is like that. There's no obstacles, completely flow. Therefore, one lifetime, Buddhahood. There's no such thing as death in Shambhala, only Buddhahood, enlightenment. So I explain Kalachakra path like that way. And the details in the other books. This is Kalachakra, the Sarna explanation. You know, Sarna explained word by word. And these three books is, yeah. These three books is the whole, captures the whole Buddhism and then direct in like Kalachakra way. So Kalachakra practitioners or non-Kalachakra practitioners, either way, you can read that book and you can understand many things in Buddhism you don't understand things clear here, usually. Why? Because I know what people's limitation, where is it confused, you know. When I read these books, let's say, think about like 10 years, every day, 24/7, 10 hours, let's say. So, therefore, is because when I read with hundreds of people, because I learn English at the same time I read book, which means I only communicate and somebody have to write, help me. And so Western people is busy, so I can't get many people. So I have to, any person get experienced, non-experienced, you know, like somebody have no concept of Buddhism, some people have concept, all of them involved. And then they have so many questions. All of them are written in Buddhism, in book. That's why my book is very different. So my nature also, I really cares people's spiritual progress. I really cares. I take full responsibility, you know. So that's why I make very clear. So that's why even this Rime book took us 12 years. These books I wrote in the same time, you know, like, oh, today I'm working on this book, tomorrow I'm working on this. The same time somebody, okay, I have this one, and somebody can polish that book, and the same time I doing the other one. So, like 15 years I'm in Australia. I never go out. I never go look around, go shows, nothing. No movies, no restaurant, no drive cars, never learn car, never even, almost never go anywhere. I just focus this. So just to finish, then I try to tell all the world. So a little bit later, sorry, do you have any questions?
I have a question. You said the...
Oh, you have a microphone. You have a microphone.
Oh, half an hour late. Oh, no.
No, it's on time, I think so. You said that the Nyingma agrees with the Shintong view, but then in Mipam Rinpoche's book, then he goes very extensive explanations about why things are not empty of other. So, and he's sometimes very forceful in his arguments. So, is it just like the 5% you were talking about, or is it
Which part of your book are you talking about?
like in Madhyamaka Lankara, the commentary of Madhyamaka Lankara?
Ramajan.
No,
The commentary of
Avatar. Sorry, Umala Jukpa.
Oh, Rama Jukba. Oh, yeah, yeah. Of course, when you talk in Rama Jukba, you can't agree with Janton. No possible. Huh? Why? Because Rama Jukba is written by Chandrakirti. Chandrakirti is Ranton, not Jantonba. So, of course, Mapam have many disagree with Gelugpas. But that's not his focus, Janton there, no possible. But also, I'm not saying Mapam is himself Jantonba. But he wrote Small Janton. Do you know that? Yeah, he wrote Small Janton. He definitely not disagree with Janton. But I don't know he's preferring Janton or not. I don't know. But many other Nyangmapas, like their view is like really, I can't say 100%, but 98%, like like Longshenpa. Nyangma's the most important figure is Longshenpa. Longshenpa, you could say 100% or at least 98% is like Janton. And many other Nyangmapas, a lot, they are like that. But in general, none of Nyangmapas kind of like disagree Janton. Yeah.
You reminded me, I heard that Mipam actually, he writes from different points of view, depending on the text of the commentary he wrote, right? So, but I forgot.
Okay.
Excuse my ignorance about this, but the question of Shambhala and what relationship is there with Nirvana?
Huh?
Nirvana.
Shambhala, not Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Shambhala is not Nirvana. Shambhala is, you can say, is I will say Bodhisattva pure realm, which means is not, you can say, simple way, you can say not basically 100% it proof pure, because there is, basically simple way, if we are not free from karma, but if you really sincerely you make connections with Shambhala, and then your next rebirth could be Shambhala. Why? Because they have connections. But Amitabha Pure Land is logically difficult agree somebody like karmically not free. Because Amitabha Pure Land is Buddha Pure Land, which means zero karma there. Buddha's mind created this is appearances of Buddha mind, Buddha-Amitabha's mind, right? So somebody have full of karma, not free from karma at all. It's logically difficult. For theoretically difficult. That's why nobody accepts. Scholars never accept. But I always see if you do this, if people focus, people not focus scholar, not focus logic, they just focus faith, like this. It is beneficial to focus this path, but it's not. The Shambhala different. Shambhala, if you practice Kalachakra, even you reach the first yoga. First yoga, you develop Tongzuk. Tongzuk means empty form, which means really subtle form, incredible subtle form. So this subtle form is connected like Shambhala. Because Shambhala is subtle form. It's not Buddha's mind, more like merit, Pure Land.
Merit, Pure Land?
Yes, merit, okay, yeah, creation of merit. So that means the bodhisattvas, eons of merit for sentient beings. The aspiration, determination for sentient beings. This and, our merit, karma, positive karma merit have connection with this. So that's why it's very different. This is not clear before.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that.
Yes, yes.
Anyone else have a question? Go ahead.
The most important today our topic is Rime. So now you understand why Rime is important? Historically what happened. Sometimes Rime, sometimes no Rime, and no Rime times not good. The Rime times are really good, And then practically what we understand. And then finally how you connect it with Shambhala.
Very good. Fascinating.
Okay. Which page number?
All right, page 159. Short dedication. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Sri Khampa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
So we have everybody will come tomorrow for the special teaching.
Yeah, so I know that the advertisement for the teaching tomorrow was on Buddha Dharma Uttara Tantra, but it's going to be